The year is 2099, and General Thorne never thought he'd face this particular brand of hell. Not in the charred ruins of alien battlefields, not even in the sterile corridors of the Federation HQ during his forced stint as a pseudo-diplomat. No, this particular brand of hell was uniquely suited to him, as it was carved from his own failures and served on a platter of gleaming chrome and sterile medical lighting. According to these sample reports, General, the revival success rate is 98.7%, a chirpy Axorian scientist chimed. With shimmering scales and overly wide eyes, the alien practically vibrated with the enthusiasm of a scientist eager to show off their latest breakthrough as they looked over at the chief scientist. Through neural mapping and cellular regeneration, we can restore your fallen soldiers to full functionality within hours of declared death, spoke Chief Scientist Vicar, the head of the Federation's Shadow Cloak program, a branch kept under intense secrecy. Thorne stared at the display. It depicted not heroic sacrifices, but grotesque parodies. Soldiers he'd led to their deaths, now revived into endlessly repeating cycles of trauma and bloodshed. They twitched and moaned, and their eyes rolled back in their heads. It was a malfunction, the Axorian assured him, a temporary glitch on the path to fully restored cognition. This particular experiment was, after all, an early iteration of many trials to come. "This isn't life," Thorne rasped, the word thick with the blood and smoke of battlefields that still plagued his nightmares. "It's an abomination." All the scientists in the room recoiled, save for Vicar, whose optimism flickered in his steadied eyes. "But General, think of the tactical advantage. Attrition will become obsolete. Every fallen soldier is a chance to strike back. To what?" Thorne slammed a fist on the polished console, the echoes startling them both. "To turn war into an endless meat grinder? To force my people to relive their deaths over and over until there's nothing left of who they were." A nearby medic chirped nervously, the universal language translator failing to convey the horror Thorne felt burning in his gut. This wasn't some abstract debate on military ethics. It was personal. He saw himself in those hollowed-out eyes on the screen, reliving every mistake, every death he'd ordered for all eternity. No species deserved that kind of fate. "You call this life?" he snarled, pushing past Vicar and striding out of the room and down the corridor. "It's blasphemy," he yelled out to nobody in particular. "And if the Federation thinks they can buy Earth's soul with this—" He didn't finish the sentence. Around the corner, he spotted a familiar figure in Ambassador Kellis, his face taut with diplomatic strain, even in this supposedly neutral medical facility. It seemed word of his little outburst had spread fast. "General," Kellis began, the usual pleasantries absent from his tone, "I understand your concerns, but I urge you to reconsider. The Federation has protocols." Thorne cut him off. "Protocols? Do you want me to hand over my dead to a damn assembly line to play war games with their shattered minds? Is this what the Federation's come to, Kellis? Using the ghosts of our battles to grease the wheels of your precious galactic peace?" The tense silence stretched, punctuated only by the distant, unnerving groans echoing from the revival lab. Kellis massaged his temples, the lines of exhaustion etched deeper than Thorne remembered. "Thorne," he began, his voice strained, "I don't like this any more than you do, but we're not talking about war games. Every border skirmish, every civilian rescue gone wrong, those casualties add up. This technology—" "It cheapens life," Thorne interjected, the words bitter on his tongue. "Makes death just another tactical consideration. We fought tooth and nail to reclaim our world, not to pave it with the endlessly recycled corpses of our own." "Idealism is a luxury Earth can ill afford," Kellis countered sharply. "Tell that to the families of pilots shot down defending our trade routes, to the children left orphaned by some blasted raid." The argument was sickeningly familiar, echoing the endless debates that had raged in Earth's fledgling council chambers. War was ugly and brutal, and the choices were a damned if you do, damned if you don't nightmare. But this was handing your conscience over to an experimental machine. A shadow flickered across Thorne's vision. A figure in full Galactic Federation uniform appeared in the hallway, bearing an unmistakable aura of authority. It was Rytak, the enigmatic first speaker. If he was here, this had just gone from a heated debate to a full-blown diplomatic disaster. General Thorne, Rytak's voice began, a deceptively soothing tone for a being of his scale stature. Your passion is admirable, misplaced, but a sign of the fire the Federation needs. He inclined his head, a gesture that unnerved Thorne more than open hostility would have. I understand your reservations, Rytak continued, but consider the potential your species offers to the galaxy. Yes, for combat, but beyond that due to your unique human DNA. Exploring the most hazardous nebulae, enduring missions too deadly for unmodified humans. His scaled crest tilted, the reptilian equivalent of a chilling smile. Imagine, General, an army of volunteers knowing death is but a temporary inconvenience. The tactical possibilities are horrifying, the word cut in from behind Thorne. Relief flooded his mind as he recognized Captain Anya Petrova's voice. He turned his head to see that she was flanked by her usually stoic Viper squad. But there was a new glint in their eyes, a darkness Thorne recognized from the very worst battlefields of the Thrax invasion. Captain, Rytak acknowledged her with cool courtesy, an interesting perspective, from one who has undoubtedly experienced the harsher side of war. I've seen what desperation does to a person, Anya said, her voice sharp, her weathered features set with grim determination. She stepped forward, placing herself between Thorne and the first speaker's wise gaze. You offer resurrection, first speaker, but at what cost? What if you shatter something more precious than the body in your pursuit of victory? What monstrous forms are you willing to unleash in the name of your precious federation you all claim to protect? Rytak's scaled crest twitched, the reptilian equivalent of a scowl. You mean our federation, Captain, he corrected, his voice a rumble infused with a barely veiled threat. Or have you humans so conveniently forgotten your place within the galactic order? Remember, it was Earth's relentless conflict with the Thrax that painted a target on your vulnerable planet, the first speaker pointed out. A target many enemies outside the Federation would gleefully exploit, given half a chance, if not for the protection the Federation offers. The first speaker's voice took on a somber tone. It is at the cost of countless non-human lives lost that the Earth remains protected at this very moment. The room, humming with medical tech and political tension, suddenly felt as cold as the furthest reaches of space. Thorne didn't need his honed battlefield instincts to tell him this was a pivotal moment. One word, one impulsive decision could tip the scales toward a future he wasn't sure he wanted to see. Kellis finally stepped forward, breaking the charged silence, his diplomatic persona flickering back into place. First speaker, he began cautiously, as always, Earth is grateful for the opportunity to be part of such a grand coalition of planets, all with the goal of bringing peace to the galaxy. But Captain Petrova is right to have concerns. This technology has far-reaching implications beyond the military. The ethical questions are exactly why we brought this to Earth, Rytak interrupted smoothly. The potential for societal upheaval is obvious. His gaze swept the area, settling on Thorne with unsettling intensity. And as General Thorne so eloquently put it, your world has paid in blood for its survival. These hard lessons are what the Federation needs. With all its raw passion, this debate will influence, Rytak paused for effect, our wider galactic policy. A ripple of unease spread through the human delegation. They'd been outplayed. Cunning as always, Rytak had turned their defiant objections into a bargaining chip, a stark reminder of their desperation barely concealed beneath a veneer of galactic civility. Thorne gritted his teeth. Anya was right. They weren't just arguing tactics, but the fate of their souls. Yet Rytak had a point. Earth was the perfect test case, according to reports. They possessed unique DNA, a battle-hardened human spirit that was hard to duplicate, and they were now far too deep in the Federation's debt to refuse them outright. Damned if they did. Damned if they didn't. He needed time, a tactical retreat to strategize. This isn't something I can decide alone, Thorne ground out, forcing a semblance of gruff pragmatism into his voice. Earth's Council What's left of it will need to be convinced. The first speaker nodded, the slightest flicker of relief evident in his tired eyes. Understandable. We will grant you time, and I'm sure Earth's Council will come to the same conclusion as the Galactic Federation, the first speaker gestured, and then perhaps a demonstration, so you can see how your soldiers respond to the Lazarus Resurrection Project's protocol firsthand. The first speaker's scaled crest tilted ever so slightly, a gesture of mocking acquiescence. Of course, General, it will only be a small number of volunteers under strictly controlled conditions. Surely this is a compromise all will find to their liking. Thorne knew they'd been expertly maneuvered into a corner. Volunteers. They'd find them, even if the council had to twist arms and play on the desperation of the shattered families left behind. There was always a price, and they were about to pay theirs in order to appease the Federation. As the delegation retreated, Anya approached him. She shot Thorne a look full of feelings he knew all too well as he shared them at this moment. Anger, resignation, and yes, a sliver of fear. It echoed his own misgivings. With its gleaming medical bays and offers of a twisted kind of immortality, the Federation might be a more dangerous foe than the Thrax ever were. We should never have agreed to this alliance, Anya muttered, her voice barely whispering amidst the corridor's sterile hum. We didn't have a choice, Thorne said grimly. But that was the cold truth. Humanity had traded one set of chains for another, more gilded, but perhaps no less unbreakable.